During this leadership campaign, I campaigned as a Conservative and I will govern as a Conservative. And my friends, we need to show that we will deliver over the next 2 years. I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply. And I will deliver on the National Health Service. But we all will deliver for our country. And I will make sure that we use all the fantastic talents of the Conservative Party, our brilliant members of Parliament and peers, our fantastic councillors, our MSs, our MSPs, all of our councillors and activists and members right across our country. Because, my friends, I know that we will deliver, we will deliver, and we will deliver. And we will deliver a great victory for the Conservative Party in 2024. Thank you. Thank you.
So Liz Truss wins the race to become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. There she goes, and she was the front runner. She has ended up winning as a leader of the Conservative Party, and she is now the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. My colleague Sanjay Suri is live with me from London, from outside the 10 Downing Street. Sanjay, this was pretty evident considering the last few rounds. She was the clear front runner, and now she is the new Prime Minister of the UK.
Well, two things appear to stand out. One is that the gap was not quite as large as some of the polls had led us to expect. I mean, the result makes her a clear winner, of course, but this was not an absolutely runaway victory that crushed Rishi Sunak. He did get a respectable number of votes, a very credible second place. Of course, that is not of any consequence now. The fact is that Liz Truss is the one who will be moving in here to 10 Downing Street. The other thing that stands out is that Liz Truss very significantly did not mention Rishi Sunak in her speech. Yes. She spoke very warmly of Boris Johnson. Considering that this was a contest between two, one would expect it would have been gracious to mention Rishi Sunak, considering that it was a very long-fought debate, and considering that he did get all of 60,000 votes and more among about 140,000 who cast their votes. This would suggest that Rishi Sunak may perhaps not quite find a place in her government, in her cabinet. We've been seeing indications of that leading up to now. Rishi Sunak at the last hustings in Wembley was dropping hints quite broadly that the two should work together. He said he admires Liz Truss. He was perhaps creating an opening for himself and for a plan B where he could find a place in her cabinet. He still might, but the first indications don't look promising from Truss.
Also, very important point that you've mentioned there, Sanjay. Good words reserved for Boris Johnson, who was not even present. Very conspicuous with his absence, but something that was very, very evident.
Well, this has been evident all the way through the campaign, certainly very dramatically evident through the hustings. Had this been a three-way contest with Boris Johnson in it, it would have been no contest at all. He was miles ahead in popularity, miles ahead from either of these candidates. At the early stage of the hustings, we had videos played that showed Boris Johnson in the video, and he was hugely applauded, very, very warm, almost a raucous applause. And this was so embarrassing for both candidates that the party then had to withdraw that Boris Johnson video. Every time Boris Johnson was mentioned through the campaign and in the hustings, there was huge applause from the Conservative members, and we spoke to several of them at the hustings and through the campaign, and they mostly seemed to speak for Boris Johnson and express some regret. And this worked for Liz Truss. She was the one who had remained loyal to him, and she kept reminding people of that with a view, no doubt, to getting their support and their vote, and this appears to have worked. So Boris Johnson has hovered over this campaign all the way and has been quite a critical player behind the scenes in influencing the voting and in securing the result that we have now seen.
Right. Sanjay, also, a word here for the new Prime Minister of the UK. Liz Truss will also be inheriting a flagging economy. That also needs to be underlined over here. A 40-year high inflation and the soaring energy bills, all that she needs to look at now.
Well, it's not going to be easy for Liz Truss. It's the energy crisis, and that's going to get more and more serious. We've had a further shutdown of Russian gas today. The war in Ukraine doesn't look like it's going to end tomorrow. The energy crisis is going to get worse. Prices are going to rise. And Britain is particularly affected, very much more than others, as a consequence of Brexit. Nobody is admitting that so far in public, not the Conservative leadership certainly, not even the Labour leadership are committed to Brexit. Only the Lib Dems are talking about Brexit being a bad idea, but they're a very distant third at the moment. The fact is that Britain is very badly hit by this. Inflation was 9% at the start of the campaign. It's crossed 10%. Bank of England said, well, it'll be 13.5 by the end of next year. Independent think tanks say, well, it's going to go above 18%. Now we are hearing 20%. And this inflation, in inflation figures, if you want to call it, has come over just a few weeks.
Yeah.
The rise in inflation is dramatic. At the moment, and Rishi had campaigned on inflation as his top priority. He seemed to have the more credible and more convincing plan for the economy by way of tackling inflation. But it is Truss who said that she would cut taxes. She said it again a few minutes back, that she's committed to cutting taxes. Rishi Sunak has warned against that. It's like borrowing from a future and leaving your children and grandchildren to pick up the bill. And it's not clear that the tax cuts will help those who need support most at this time. Those warnings may well be remembered for some time to come. For Liz Truss, is going to be a pretty hard haul handling the economy up to the election in 2024. It's going to get worse and worse, and that may not be great for her or for the Conservative Party going into the next election.
Absolutely. Sanjay, thank you so much for so beautifully breaking it down for our viewers right here who are joining us on the